Hi guys, Henry here with some of my World War II Germans that I'm going to show off to you guys. You can see some sculpts in the flesh. Quite a lot of models to get through, but I guess we'll start with the biggest and go down to the smallest. This was sorted by me having a big pile in the middle of the table that I was manually sorting, so these might not exactly match the proper product contents, but if you watch the whole video, hopefully you at least see everything in the range, so let's get on to it. So here we have the German Riflemen. I can't say exactly how many poses this is, but I guess I can put that in the product description in the end. You've got a variety of prone poses, obviously, some with grenades. If you want to close look at that one, I'm relying on automatic focus here. Yeah, I got a grenade pose. A few like foot slogging sorts for more peaceful marching. The HQ set also has soldiers that are like smoking and stuff, but the HQ set I'm kind of using as a sort of half dioramic one as well. These are mostly supposed to be combat poses. I suppose the thing to do would be to show you what they look like a bit more detailed by taking one and using some black ink. See if we can make the details pop a bit. I appreciate that on a white resin model it's not so easy to see all the details and things, so hopefully this is a bit more helpful and instructive. There we go. You can see, if I can get the camera to focus, maybe you can see he has his collar tabs. It's hidden just here, but he also has the eagle on his tunic. He's got his shoulder boards. And there are some folds and things in the cloth, so I'm hoping people will find these nicely detailed. These miniatures, I should have said at the start, are 15mm rescales. So the native models are 6mm. Here is a 10mm next to a 15mm, if I can just. Here we have the MP40 armed infantry. The poses here are intended to have a few more that could be used like as NCOs, so they're a bit more dynamic and commanding. So here we have a guy who's pointing. The webbing, I think I didn't show on the Riflemen, so there's the webbing on the back. He's got the SMG pouch, though it's hidden there. I'm not sure how realistic this pose is, but I wanted a bit of a Macho Man one. Bottom of the pouch is there. All the MP40s are supposed to have slings. There's one pose among these prototypes where I've accidentally left it off, but I will add that in before the launch. Here we have the single prone pose. Again, it's a kind of commanding looking one. I suppose I should pick which one to ink for you. Let's just go for a nice, good and simple guy firing from the hip, shall we? So, yeah. Oh, you can see the collar tabs much better. Oh, he's coming out that blue tack. Should say I wouldn't normally paint miniatures on blue tack. I'm only doing this just so I can film it more easily. Push it back down. And there we go. You can see actually that this model I've used two heads, a neutral expression one. This one has a shouting face, so he is actually a bit more unique than the others. Next up here we've got our PZB-39 anti-tank rifles and our MG-34 gunners. And in the middle you've got an MG-34 on a Lafette heavy tripod. You can see one little misprint on there actually. there is a little bit of delamination on the bottom, so perhaps I could use with the support to benefit prototypes, isn't it? If you do see delamination, just cut it back. That's on the bipod on the bottom, but that's still fine. That's a perfectly workable model. They have bandoliers on the back, and any MG teams that are in place, I've got rid of the extra webbing off, so they've just got their bread bags and canteens. Logic being that if they're sitting still for a while, they'll probably throw that stuff away, whereas if you compare them to the prone MG34 team here, if I can get the camera focus, he's got his full webbing. There's one support I see I haven't removed under the 75 round drum. But otherwise, yeah, that model is like you would get in the Kickstarter. So I'll just strip that support off. Nothing too major. Okay. As for which one I'm going to ink to show off, again, I need to pick... Oh, no, before I do that, we also have an ammo carrier. I quite like these models. Again, they've got the proper MG webbing insofar as I know. He's got a bandolier around his neck. He's got a cleaning pack under the bandolier and a pistol. And on the back, he has a spare barrel for the MG. He's the assistant who's been left to lug 4 75 round drums. Poor guy. Actually, you know what? I might ink one of these up because I got 2 of them. They have mirrored walking poses. Probably a bit much because you might not want more than one of them in your army in the first place, but, you know. So let's get him inked. See if we can make that bandolier pop. See the canteen and bread bag in full view there. Must take a lot of practice for these painting YouTubers to keep the model in the center of the view. It's quite difficult to stare at a model and register the camera as well. But here we go. You can see the cleaning pouch. What I think is an ammunition pouch, the square one that's on MG gunners on the front. Forgot to mention that. And the spare barrel on the back. And the top of his bayonet and entrenching tool. Yeah. Let's move on. Here we have the Radiomen. We have 3 prone figures. It occurs to me that this prone guy who's just talking into a receiver without a radio would need an accompanying radioman, which you would think these 2 would be, but these ones are also talking on a receiver. So perhaps I need a prone idle radioman to go with this one. The German radios have a separate radio on one figure and a battery on the other. So on the left there you've got the battery pack, on the right you've got the radio. So you would pair them off. We've also got separate officer figures, or radiomen or NTOs, who are either speaking with headphones and a receiver without a pack. The idea being they'd be next to a radio man like this on the same base. Or there, that one is more of an NCO officer sort of figure. So you've either got you've got separate figures talking into radios while a radio man is idle next to them, or a radio man is talking to their own radio. And we've got some who are just slogging the radio about. Nice thick aerial, maybe a bit thick for 15mm, but that's because it needs to survive at 6mm, which is the native scale of the miniatures. As for which model I'll link, I'm going to pick this one here, simply because in the entire Kickstarter, this guy has a unique head. It's the one individual figure. Not sure if you can see, but he actually has glasses. So I figured I might as well ink the one unique figure to just show off his head. I haven't used that head on anyone else, but it is in the Blender files. I think I've got a monocle as well, which didn't make its way onto any models. It's just obviously one of the lenses from the glasses. I thought, oh, well, you could make a monocle with that. Obviously, if I do a Africa project later, we'll have goggles and things, so it's not wasted work. And like I said, I've used 21 in the Blender files. I just thought that one radio man has to have glasses, because, you know, they're the nerds of the army, right? Signals. At least, you know, You've got to do more than eat crayons to know how a radio works, I assume, especially in the 1940s. And there we go. There's our Radiomen. And, oh, he's got the battery. I was going to show you all the nice dials and things at the back of the radio, which are modelled. But yeah, he's only got the battery pack. My mistake. Yeah, there he is. Nice 15mm bespectacled nerd. Moving on. And here we have the observer figures. I call them observers, but they're adaptable really. You could use them in a bunch of roles. Obviously, officers had binoculars, so the fellas who have MP40s and binoculars could be used on your NCO bases. I'm thinking about, if there's time, doubling these up to do some webbingless versions that could go with like artillery teams and things. I mean, this guy maybe, although he's in a soft headgear, so I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate there's a bit of duality of uses. Like you could have your officers or NCOs who are in their full webbing, who are with the infantry, and then you might want ones in more undress to go on your artillery bases. That's on my roadmap for me to take a look at. I see this one's been done without a lot of the back webbing, but he has still got his MP40. Oh, I'm not sure. I'll make a note to revisit these and just make sure that I'm certain of my approach. But yes, I think it would be a good idea to have infantry-looking ones and ones that could be on your artillery bases, and observers who might have discarded their kit. I think that was my logic. Yes, if I look, this guy who's not got the heavy webbing but has got his bread bag, I think he's meant to be like hunkered down, and he's discarded his heavier kit. He's just observing people, but I'll make a note to revisit that. Here we've got a solitary sniper model. It's currently an outstanding item on my to-do list to add in more snipers. I want some like dioramic ones, shooting over obstacles, some unique shooting poses. This is just the prone rifleman pose, but with a scope put on top. But that's something still outstanding on the roadmap. At the time of recording, we're just under a month away from launch. Time is running out, but there's a lot of outstanding items, and yeah, this one's still on the to-do list. But yeah, for now, that's our single sniper pose. This is one of the more interesting sets. It's the HQ and officers set. It's not complete. There are some poses I haven't printed here, which are the ones sitting at tables. So there's a guy who's leaning over a map, a guy who's on the telephone sitting down, and just another guy who's leaning on a table. I didn't include them because I was in a rush to print, and to print those models, you would have to rig them up onto the separate table STL and export that as a joint STL. Probably should have, but I was in a rush and didn't do it, so sorry if you want to see those, but they're in the renders for the Kickstarter, so you can still see them. I guess the most interesting pose here is this radio operator who is working at a desk. In front of him, he's got a telephone receiver in a box. He's got the HQ set, the proper one, different from the infantry radio, and his desk is solid around, but it is hollow. I guess that's going to be a bit annoying to paint. If I get feedback, I might consider just making it a separate object. And he's also, I think, unique in that you probably can't see it, but he's not wearing a hat. He's actually just got his bare hair there. And yeah, nice HQ piece, I hope. Otherwise, you've got a lot of typical officers. You have two figures that are smoking. The smoking officer isn't there, so I guess I've misplaced him. But here's a smoking soldier. Here's a smoking soldier. Yeah, you can just see he's got a cigarette quite clearly. Again, it's a bit thick, but wanted it to work at 6mm. I need to export a marching one. The British have a marching soldier who has a cigarette as well, but I hadn't thought of that idea when I was doing the Germans first, so that's missing. Interesting poses. We've got an officer who is drinking coffee or some tea, maybe. That's a pose shared with the British. Obviously fits the British more, perhaps. Oh, there's the smoking officer down there. Silly me. We've got reading a book, or perhaps a report. And nice saluting figure too. I'm hoping if we get motorcycles funded as a stretch goal, you can have like a nice, vignette of message dispatch arriving by a motorcycle with people saluting to receive it. And you've got sentries. Yeah, hoping you can make some nice dioramas with this. Although, like I said, a lot of the stuff's missing. There is separate chairs and tables and stuff, so you can have them arranged round like they're having a meeting. And that leaves us just the artillerymen next. But before I go, I should ink up one of the figures. Here's a nice boring officer pose, just standing still. That's my cat coming to visit. You can also get an officer in the free figure pack, so this should be a model that people can already get acquainted with if they want to. And let's move on to that artillery. Here we have the last of our German figure sets to show, and that is the Mortarmen and artillerymen. There are two versions for a lot of the poses you can see here. Like, if you look at this one, the ramrod, he doesn't have any webbing on. That's because if you're serving a heavy gun or a howitzer that's behind the lines, you're less likely to be wearing your encumbering equipment, while the AT gunners, like this guy here, have their bread bags and entrenching tools on still, and their Y straps in this case. Here we have a 50mm Mortarman, and he is actually supposed to have a special assistant pose that's passing him ammunition, but I haven't exported that yet. The Brits do have that one though. Some other poses I like. We've got another ammunition carrier, like the same pose as the MG34 one, but this guy's carrying mortar shells. Here's another ammo carrier who's a bit less lucky. He's lugging some 88mm shells in a crate. As for our shell bearers themselves, not sure how well you can see, but we've got a variety of different shells. Like here, we have an 88mm shell, very long, whereas some of them have, is this guy holding a shell? No, he's got an empty hand. Some of them have the 37mm, but it's difficult to make out. This guy's got a mortar shell, so there's a 80mm mortar shell. You can just see the fins at the bottom there. But I cannot see any of the 37mm. Oh, there's a 37mm. So if you look, a bit of a grubby figure, sorry, but that's a